You think paying $3,400 for a cruise means you have to stay no matter what. You're wrong. In fact, that belief alone can trap you in days of stress, discomfort, and wasted money that you can never get back. If you skip this video, you risk staying stuck in a bad situation simply because you already paid for it. But if you watch all the way through, you'll understand exactly how to make calmer, smarter decisions when things go wrong at sea and on land. This is SHIPVERSE, and today I'm walking you step by step through why I walked off a 3,400 cruise after just 17 hours, and how the sunk cost fallacy quietly ruins travel experiences for thousands of people every year. This is not drama, this is a checklist. And if you follow it in the right order, you protect your time, your health, and your money. Pichasa 1 teen recognize the mental trap before 4 it owns you. Step 1 teen catch the sunk cost fallacy in real time. Here's the action. The moment you feel yourself saying, I already paid for this, so I have to push through, pause. That sentence is the red flag. Why this matters is simple. Money you already spent is gone forever. It cannot be recovered by staying longer, but your time, energy, and health are still very much on the line. What goes wrong if you skip this step is you start making emotional decisions instead of rational ones. You stay miserable for days just to justify a past expense that cannot be undone. Pro tip: cruise lines know this psychology very well. That's why complaints are often met with delays, apologies, and promises instead of immediate solutions. Every extra hour you stay increases the odds you'll give up and accept the loss. Step 2: and separate price from value. Your action here is to ask one honest question. What am I actually getting right now? I paid $3,400 expecting rest, comfort, and enjoyment. After 17 hours, I was getting stress, frustration, and exhaustion. Why this matters is because value is not theoretical, it's real time. It's how you feel right now, not what the brochure promised. If you skip this step, you convince yourself that future days will magically improve without evidence. That's how people endure entire cruises they secretly hate. Insider detail. Most cruise issues that start on day 1 do not fully resolve later. Cabin problems, service gaps, and crowd issues tend to compound, not disappear. Piazza 20, do a rapid reality check on day 1. Step 3, then audit your first 12 to 24 hours. Your action is to mentally review your first day, not the highlights. The friction. Ask yourself, how many times were you stressed? How many times did you feel ignored, uncomfortable, or disappointed? Why this matters is because the first day is the cruise line's best foot forward. If things are already broken, understaffed, or chaotic, this is the peak, not the valley. If you skip this step, you fall into day 2 optimism, where you assume the system will suddenly fix itself overnight. Real example: long lines at guest services on day 1 usually means systemic issues. By day 3, those lines are even longer, not shorter. Step 4, identify non-negotiables. Your action here is to define what you personally cannot tolerate. For me, it was a combination of cabin issues, service failures, and overall stress that defeated the purpose of the trip. Why this matters is because everyone's threshold is different. What's acceptable to one traveler is a deal breaker for another. If you skip this step, you compare yourself to other passengers and gaslight your own experience. Everyone else seems fine is not a valid reason to stay unhappy. Pro tip: cruises amplify discomfort. You can't leave easily, you can't change hotels, and you can't escape crowds. Small issues feel much bigger at sea. PS30s assess exit options before emotions escalate. Step 5D. Check port timing immediately. The action here is practical. Look at the itinerary and identify the first port where disembarkation is legally and logistically possible. Why this matters is because leaving earlier is easier, cheaper, and less complicated than leaving later. If you skip this step, you may miss the cleanest exit window and end up stuck longer than necessary. Insider fact: in many itineraries, the first port allows straightforward disembarkation. After that, customs, immigration, and reboarding rules can make exiting far more complex. Step 6C, calculate real exit costs, not imagined ones. Your action is to price flights, hotels, and transport calmly. Why this matters is because many people assume leaving will be too expensive without actually checking. In my case, the cost of leaving was less than the emotional and physical cost of staying. If you skip this step, you exaggerate the loss and stay trapped by fear rather than facts. Pro tip: same-day flights from cruise ports are often cheaper than expected, especially to major hubs. Stress inflates perceived cost. PHE4A: make the decision based on future cost, not past payment. Step 70, ask the only question that matters. Here is the action. Ask yourself, if this were free from this point onward, would I stay? Why this matters is because it strips away sunk cost completely and forces an honest answer. If the answer is no, staying longer will not magically change that. If you skip this step, you keep negotiating with yourself instead of deciding. Psychological insight: the human brain hates admitting loss, but walking away is often the fastest path to regaining control. Step 8: commit cleanly and quickly once the decision is made. Act. Do not linger in doubt, do not seek validation from strangers, and do not wait for permission. Why this matters is because hesitation increases stress and second-guessing. If you skip this step, you end up half in, half out, which is the most mentally exhausting place to be. Insider detail: cruise staff respond more efficiently when you are calm, clear, and decisive. Uncertainty slows everything down. Peach for the execute the exit professionally. Step 9: communicate clearly with guest services. Your action is to state facts, not emotions. Explain that you are disembarking and need guidance on the process. Why this matters is because emotional arguments rarely produce results. Clear logistics do. If you skip this step, you create unnecessary friction and delays. Pro tip: always ask for written confirmation of disembarkation and any charges or notes added to your account. Step 10: secure your onward travel before leaving the ship. The action here is to finalize flights and accommodations before stepping off whenever possible. Why this matters is because ports can be chaotic and decision-making becomes harder once you're in transit. If you skip this step, you increase the risk of delays, higher prices, and unnecessary stress. Real-world detail: airport congestion near cruise port spikes on port days. Early planning saves hours. Size 60: rename the experience afterwards. Step 11: redefine success. Your action is to consciously redefine the trip as a successful decision, not a failed vacation. Why this matters is because mindset determines whether this becomes a lesson or a regret. If you skip this step, you carry unnecessary guilt instead of clarity. Insider truth: experienced travelers leave bad situations early. Inexperienced travelers endure them to get their money's worth. A step 20: extract the lesson, not the blame. Ask what signals you'll recognize faster next time. Why this matters is because every experience, even a short one, upgrades your decision-making. If you skip this step, you either blame yourself or the cruise line endlessly without gaining wisdom. Traps to avoid before we end: do not wait for the cruise to feel worth it just because you paid for it. Do not let strangers minimize your experience. Do not confuse patience with endurance. And do not assume staying longer means losing less. Often it means losing more. Walking off a 3,400 cruise after 17 hours wasn't emotional. It was rational. It was calm. And it was one of the best travel decisions I've made. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever stayed in a trip, hotel, or cruise longer than you should have just because you paid for it? Or have you ever walked away early and felt relief? Drop your experience in the comments. If this helped you think differently, hit like, subscribe to SHIPVERSE, and watch the next video where I break down the most expensive cruise mistakes people don't realize they're making until it's too late.